Hello, we're here for Safer Gambling Week 2025 and have been a ride this last year, huh, Duncan?
That's an understatement. It's been a mad year. I can't believe if you told me where we would be in November at the start of January, I would never have believed it.
Yeah, no, it have been a fantastic year for the blocker, and it would be, great, to do a little recap
Mm-hmm.
and to talk a little bit about you know plans, what have happened these years, and yeah, it have been a bit of a positive
Oh,
year.
it's just we've seen all the investments we made over the last few years bearing fruit, specifically in terms of an absolute explosion in active user numbers. I mean, by the time this video goes live, we will likely be passing 250,000 active users this year.
Okay, I
That's just massive. That's mind blowing figures.
I mean, it's a mind blowing figure, but could you give us a bit the difference on what is active users and what is downloads? A bit. Okay, can you?
We're very careful, and I've been very careful about my language when talking about this year. When we talk about active users, what we mean is a user that's done one of three things in the reporting period. They have activated a new block. They have opened our app while they have an app active block, or they have tried to access a restricted resource while they have an active block. So all of these users are users that have an active restriction with BetBlocker. We're being very careful about our language because downloads is just because somebody downloads the app doesn't mean they actually use it. And so we don't want any stakeholder in the sector to be confused when we talk about our figures. We want it to be exactly what it says on the tin. So an active user is an active user.
Because we had that conversation, you and me, a couple of times, and I was a bit like, okay, you know, if maybe we should say the bigger number, but you always have been like, no,
No, I,
completely.
I don't see the value to anybody in talking about downloads. If somebody downloads the app but never activates the block, they've not received any of the benefit of the service. They're not engaging with the protection at all. So I just don't see downloads as a useful statistic. It doesn't tell us anything valuable. If we want to know about how many people, how much benefit we're creating via protections, we need to talk about active users.
So it's a bit like the difference between buying broccoli and eating the broccoli.
Yeah, that's a very apt apt comparison. And yes, I regularly do not get the benefit of broccoli.
Yeah, and I have seen pretty bad looking broccoli at the bottom of my
Yeah,
fridge. Like, please give
absolutely,
me.
absolutely. So yeah, we're very careful about this, and it's great to see the uptake levels so high. There's a there are good reasons for this. Good reasons we've seen such significant growth, and one of them is all of the organisations, and there's too many to name at this point, that have supported us in the last sort of 2 years. Not, and I'm not just talking about financial support. Look, financial support's lovely. I'm not going to say it's not. Financial support helps us keep the service running. It's critical. But the truth is, when it comes to reaching users, signposting is actually more important. We're a small organization. We can't afford to run high level marketing campaigns in one country, let alone every country, because we've supported active users in every country in the world this year, other than North Korea,
Okay.
and that's a phenomenal statistic in itself. Other than one of the most restrictive countries in the world, we have supported users everywhere. We've supported users in China. We've supported users in Iran. We've supported users in Russia. Some of the countries that have more closed internets, we're still reaching users in these countries.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's really important to us to receive support in the form of signposting, because when big brands, and that can be regulators, it can be funding commissioners, but it can also be the industry, when they help signpost the support that we're offering, that helps us reach audiences that we simply don't have the resources to reach, and we will never have the resources to reach. So our partners have been critical to our success this year. And the other aspect that I think really has made the difference, and the reason we're seeing such huge user engagement, is the model that we use. By not requiring registration, by making the service anonymous to access, we both remove a step in the activation process. We streamline the move from searching for help to blocked. We speed it up. We get them there faster, and we remove user anxiety about sharing personal information. We just don't
Mm.
request it, and this encourages a higher level of engagement with the service than is seen elsewhere. So it's been a really rewarding year.
I mean, I mean, like when I think about 250,000, since the
And
beginning of the
and
year, it's like,
it's only the middle of November when this is going out. So we still have a month and a half to go.
yeah.
That figure will be far higher before the end of the year.
Okay. Where is this 250,000 active user coming from?
You mean geographically?
Yeah, geographically.
Geographically, I mean, I'm just flicking to the screen now. It's as I say, we've supported active users in every country, basically every country in the world this year. But I mean, Brazil dominates. We have had 50,000 active users in Brazil. The UK is our second biggest market. We've had close to 20,000 active users in the
Wow.
UK right now. The United States is rapidly growing and catching the UK up. We've as of today, the day of filming, we've had 15,733 active users in the US. But by the end of this year, if things keep growing at the rate they are, that will be over 20,000. We've seen, again, I mean, 11,000 active users in Romania, 10 in Canada, 10 in Kenya, which is the first African country
Wow.
to have passed
10,000.
10,000. Yeah, 10,000 active users. South Africa will follow again. We'll pass 10,000 active users in South Africa before this video goes out.
What about
Even
Nigeria? Because
Nigeria's doing well. It's currently our 10th at 7,431.
wow.
But the continent that I haven't mentioned in this yet is Asia, and we have the Philippines that's currently on track to make 10,000 before the end of the year. So I mean, we basically have every continent um, with a significant population represented in our top 10.
Okay,
And I'm thrilled about that, because that shows the durability of this service, the reality that communities all over the world want the service we're providing. Um, and the faster we can translate into more languages to support more of these communities, the quicker we're going to see user numbers grow. I mean, if we do 250,000 this year, and if we just continue next year at the same level that we're at now, we would break 400,000 active users in 2026. So if we experience no growth whatsoever, we will break 400,000 users by the end of 2026. And
I
I have no intention to allow there to be no growth next year.
I was thinking that you were going to mention Antarctica before when you said there's a continent that you haven't mentioned. So, okay.
I've looked into this before. There's no countries in Antarctica, and there's a seasonal population that's in the thousands. It's very low.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you about languages.
Uh-huh.
How having a new language contributes on the expansion of BetBlocker.
Look, the and this is something that's our figures have made very, very clear. Whenever we translate to a new language, we see from our Google Analytics or our web traffic, we see users that are accessing the site in that language jump from anywhere between 4 and 10 times. We see active users in that language, and then, or specifically, we can't measure active users by language. Actually, I need to correct that for clarity. That's a functionality we're hoping to build out in 2026. But when we look at active users in a country, whenever we translate to a new language, we see active users from the relevant country sort of double to quadruple. It makes a huge difference. The hard truth about blocking software is it's technically complicated. It is. You're asking us to create an app that cannot be removed from the device. And no operating system wants to allow a developer to do that. Because if you can create an app that can't be removed, you can create a virus that can't be removed. So we have to work very, very hard to make it as challenging as possible to remove the app. And that means that we need to interact with device settings that we can't manage automatically. And that means we have to lead the user through changing the device settings that need to be changed during the setup process. Now, if the setup process is in a language that you are either not confident in or don't speak at all, the translation barrier can be insurmountable. So it's absolutely critical to translate the service into as many languages as possible so people can access the service.
Okay, you mentioned before a bit like the systems sort of fights. Like, okay, no one wants to have an app that is irremovable, and I know that's I'm going to put you a little bit in the spot right
Uh-huh.
now. I said, okay, what I have worked like in tech companies, and they can have company device settings, so the managed device, so you know
You're talking about supervised mode on
yeah.
iPhones here. Um, it sounds like a wonderful solution. It really does, and we've investigated this option about 3 to 4 years ago. I'd have to check my dates to be sure on it, and we keep updating our research on this. But it's a mirage, is the hard truth of supervised mode. Supervised mode is intended, as you rightly say, for companies to distribute devices to their employees. And the company wants control over what's done on that device. So they don't want you able to gamble on it. They don't want you able to access pornography on it. So they can then use supervised mode to choke these things off. And that's fine, because when you are an employee of the company, one, the company owns the device. You shouldn't be doing anything on it that they don't want you to do anyway. And two, just because you've got your company phone doesn't mean you don't also have your personal phone. So when you want to do personal things, you can do it on your personal device. The
Okay, so
problem,
yeah,
sorry,
I was going to say, what is the risk? Because if I'm experiencing harms, I can just say, okay, take
if you
control of
give
my
you
phone.
yeah, why doesn't BetBlocker then deploy
Yeah.
supervised mode to help users? Right. Well, there's a couple of reasons for it. One, Apple are rightly very, very restrictive about who they allow to access supervised mode. And one of the clear lines in the sand for Apple is that the app should not be distributed publicly. And the reasons for that are what I'm just about to get into. Supervised mode gives the administrator incredible levels of control over the device. So, for instance, on a supervised, if BetBlocker ran a supervised server and users were signing up to our supervised server, we as administrators could install apps on your device or delete apps from your device without you knowing it.
Okay, that's
So think about think about the risks here. So we could install, for instance, a keylogger,
hmm.
and we can then use our DNS records to track which sites you've been visiting. And with the keylogger, we could see your passwords.
Okay. But
That's
I'm sure that BetBlocker wouldn't do it, because
Yeah, yes, you're absolutely right. We are a trustworthy organisation, and Scouts Honor, Scouts Honor, we wouldn't do that.
Spock
But
honor.
yeah, but the reality is we can't promise that, and we're not talking about us. But what happens if a bad actor gets into our systems? And the blunt truth is, when the US government can get hacked, when the big banks can get hacked, what if somebody makes a concerted effort to get into BetBlocker systems, they will find a way.
Okay.
And if we have a supervised server running, bad actors can then exert control over a massive number of devices. They can scam people and interfere with their lives in terrifying ways.
Okay, so I'm really happy that we didn't went that way.
I
You know,
I I wish we could. I wish we could, but I couldn't, in good conscience, open up. The reality is, while we could provide the service, users we couldn't communicate in an effective way the risks users would be taking. They would be signing up to it blind, and that's actually another aspect of supervised mode. From a GDPR perspective, we are gaining access to far too much personal data, and under questionable circumstances where we're dealing with vulnerable users who don't entirely understand what they're signing up to, there's a very, very good chance that the use of supervised mode wouldn't be considered compliant with the GDPR.
okay, seems like like it give me peace of mind that we're not doing this stuff, and that actually we don't collect any data at all from
That,
any
and that,
personal
that's
information.
that's that's the other side of it. For BetBlocker, we have built our brand on the core tenet that BetBlocker is an anonymous service. You can access it without registering, without us having access to your personal information. supervised mode is the antithesis to this. We could have access to everything, not
Okay.
just your name and email address. We can gain access to everything with that type of
Okay.
access.
That's scary. That sounds a bit North Korea.
It is a bit. It is a bit. It would be very authoritarian as an approach.
Yeah.
While I very much sympathise with people who want a stronger block on iPhone, and I really want to support that. The risks for in terms of using supervised mode to deliver that are far too high.
Okay. What cool features are we going to release soon? Any
Well,
picky
uh,
preview?
this is being recorded a little bit before Safer Gambling Week,
All right.
and if everything goes to plan, we will be launching our scheduling feature during Safer Gambling Week. Now, we've been talking about this for a long time now. This is really late. If I was to be totally honest about it, we were meant to launch the scheduling feature during Safer Gambling Week 2024. That is how late this is. That's just the way life goes. Sometimes anybody who's worked in the development pipeline knows that delays happen. It's one of those things. But yes, we're hoping to launch our scheduler feature during Safer Gambling Week. Now, what this does is it turns blocking software on its head. Traditionally, blocking software provides a continuous block.
Mm-hmm.
It's really intended for crisis management more than anything else. Somebody loses more than they are emotionally comfortable losing. They're panicking. They install a block and they stop playing. And that's critical that we continue to service that need, because that is a significant need.
Mm-hmm.
But the scheduling tool is intended to approach the problem from the other end. Rather than waiting for people to reach a crisis, what we're looking to do is intervene earlier. And it does exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to plan your block in advance. Now, we've up till now, we've had what we've called our calendaring feature. And there's the scheduling feature is really just an upgrade on that. The calendaring feature allowed you to select days ahead of time that you would like the restriction to be on.
Mm-hmm.
The problems with the calendaring feature are double. One, it only ever allowed you to select complete days. And two, frankly, our user interface wasn't strong. It was not intuitive, it was difficult to use. It needed improvement. The scheduler is going to improve the user interface first and foremost, but it's also going to do something else. It's going to allow you to block by hour, in fact, right down to 15 minutes rather than by complete days. So you can set windows. So, for instance, if what you're really worried about is that you like your bet in the match and you don't want to give that up, but you find you get carried away with the in-play betting
Mm-hmm.
while the match is on, you could set your block to switch on during the couple hours over the match, so you can't engage with the in-play betting.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, we're also building in the ability to set a profile. So, for instance, if what you're really concerned about is that you're sitting up too late playing and it's leaving you exhausted at work, you could set your block to switch on at 10 o'clock Sunday night through Thursday night and not switch off again until 7 o'clock the next morning. And you can set that as a repeating profile so it will happen every week. So on work nights, you cannot sit up late playing. So yeah, I think this is really intended as a harm minimization function rather than the crisis management. It's harm minimization. We want to reach a different audience with this. We want to help people manage their engagement with gambling in a safer, healthier manner.
Mm.
So we're going to have to work out the messaging around that, Pedro. We've got some work to do on that.
Yeah, one of the things, always that I haven't, that I think no one got right is the way to promote, safer gambling tools, because it's always, people that are using tools are sometimes portrayed in a negative or derogatory way. And I would like to start changing this sort of conversation. What?
It's not just as is spoken about in a negative way. It's the problem is far more fundamental than that. We have educated the population to think of responsible gambling tools as the thing you look at once you have a problem. And by definition, that is the opposite of what responsible gambling means. Because if you already have a problem, chances are you shouldn't be playing. So you don't want to engage with responsible gambling at that point. You need to stop.
I think it's a bit what they have been sold as problem gambling tool rather than safer gambling tools.
And that's exactly it. Responsible gambling tools or safer gambling tools are the thing you use so you don't get to the point that you have a problem. And it's going to take a lot of work now to correct the error in messaging to the public, because that's we've created a perception, a conscious, a societal view of what these tools are for, and we need to undo that now. And we need to encourage people, just like seatbelts in cars, we need to encourage people to use these before they have a problem. And that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. And it's going to take sharper marketing minds than mine to figure out how we effectively change the narrative,
Mm.
shift the narrative around this messaging to get people to engage with support earlier. People who don't self-identify as having a problem, to encourage them to engage when they don't self-identify and think, I don't want to have a problem, so this is what I should do.
I also wanted to ask you about key partnerships on, and I know that there are too many, to list, but we had, you know so many stakeholders, engaging, like regulators, operators, non for
I'm
profit.
I am going to avoid naming anybody here,
You
because
taking the fifth.
if I name anybody, then I don't name others. And there have been so many stakeholders that have been critical this year. And the truth is, there are still partnerships that you're aware of, Pedro, that we can't talk about yet.
Hmm.
There are big announcements loaded into the chamber, and we can't pull the trigger on them just yet. We have to wait for those things to come out. But you're absolutely right, and it's been across the board. We have received support from so many charitable organisations this year. The level of enthusiasm for what we do, you've seen it. You've seen it.
Hmm.
It has just been wonderful to see how much love BetBlocker is getting from other charitable organisations in so many different countries now.
It's
Um,
it's amazing because someone told me at the conference, oh, the good thing about the blocker is that it's a love brand, and I said, what do you mean by a love brand? And I didn't know the concept, and
yeah,
it was like, oh, it's lovely to hear that we're a love brand.
And it's not just charities. We are seeing more and more regulatory authorities, and I do have to say I can't name them just yet. We're kind of prohibited from doing that just now. But so many regulatory authorities starting to say, well, actually, we want you to officially partner with us to um, support our wider efforts and broader signposting. And that's been really exciting to see the real structures of the sector starting to open up the dialogue with us. That's been amazing. And you know, and I know it can be controversial at times to talk about this, but the support from the industry has been phenomenal as well. It has really helped. Um, one of the second biggest referrers of traffic to overall to BetBlocker is a gambling operator. And here's the secret about this. For many people that need the support that blocking software offers, their first point of contact is a live chat operator at a gambling site. We need those close relationships with the industry to make sure the industry signposts us at the right times in the right ways. Make sure that the industry doesn't just tick the box of saying, yeah, we signpost blocking software on our site somewhere. We need them to get enthusiastically behind us to become cheerleaders for what we do. So those partnerships are really important as well.
I mean, I have to be, honest. I couldn't predict, the momentum that
No,
we got this year, because I've been go 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 go, and it's like, man, that's mind-boggling.
you've seen the hard times, you've seen the lean times, Pedro. Around the start of this decade, things were touch and go for a while.
Mm.
Things were touch and go for a while. It has been a lot of hard work. You've done amazingly well raising the profile of the organization, and it's really paid off. It has really paid off. All that love um, has transformed BetBlocker into a project people want to be associated with, or are excited to support. And I couldn't have predicted the way it's happened. I mean, 2024 was amazing because we saw far higher levels of funding than we'd ever seen before, and that really stabilized the organization and allowed us to invest where we needed to invest. And 2025, you're seeing, as I said towards the start of this session, you're seeing us harvesting the rewards. Because we could make those investments last year, we're seeing the payoffs now. And the payoffs are an explosive level of uptake.
Mm. It's it's mad. I remember that time that you told me that and it was a few months ago, around 1,000, you know, new active customers a day. I was like, oh wow.
We're currently averaging since Sunday last week to today. We've been averaging 1,177 new activations every day this week.
I also wanted to ask you, because I've been also like, even if BetBlocker had done very well, for many organizations, and have been a bit of a choppy period. There's change, uh, and I feel a bit like, like things are, very polarized, and
They they
how.
they, def, they definitely are. I don't want to lean in too critically to anything. BetBlocker has found itself in a very advantageous situation.
Mhm.
And that the advantage BetBlocker has had is that we were already established as international organization. We were delivering support to anyone, anywhere in the world. And this has allowed us to open up a lot of dialogues internationally, build relationships, and diversify our funding streams so that we're not relying on any single funding commissioner or any single country, any single industry donor. Any one of these parties can withdraw their support, and BetBlocker will remain steady. It will remain stable. Yeah, it's been hard to watch, especially in the UK this year. It's been hard to watch many of the charitable organisations struggling with the uncertainty during the transition period from RET to levy. I wish that uncertainty could have been minimised a little more, but the truth is you were never going to make these foundational structural changes to the system without a transition period that included an amount of uncertainty, and that's part of the reason that we prioritized building relationships internationally, was to ensure that we could weather the storm of uncertainty during the UK transition.
It's interesting because I was thinking more about, like when I talk about things being choppable and polarized, like, because we always have taken a position of being an agnostic organization.
Oh, it is a conscious public decision, definitely. But it's also genuinely my own personal position, and I know through many conversations it is your personal view as well. I am not anti-gambling. I have no interest in lobbying against the gambling industry. I am pro responsible gambling, pro safe gambling. And BetBlocker, we can't be both things. We can't be both things. If we are seen to lobby against the industry, then the industry won't enthusiastically support us. Even if it's built into regulations that they have to signpost blocking software, that's where their enthusiasm for signposting the support will stop. So we don't want that to happen. We need to keep the industry on board and engaged. The charitable objectives of BetBlocker is to support people with free blocking software. We're not a lobbying or an activist group for change. Other groups are free to do the lobbying. If you want to do that, go for it. If you think things can be improved, if you think the regulations can be improved, if you think standards can be raised, that's fine. And we're happy to see you pursue those objectives. But we have to remain independent and agnostic, because that's how we engage our audience. And this goes right down to users as well. I've just been talking about the scheduling feature. Now, for the traditional blocking software, for that continuous block, yes, most of the users will be people who have reached a crisis point. They probably are quite, they will engage with a message that is anti-gambling. But if we want to intervene earlier in the process, if we want to reach people before they have a problem, and these people don't self-identify as harmed by gambling, they engage with gambling for recreation, for fun, and when we go in there with a lecturing tone that says gambling's bad, that audience will disengage. They don't want to be lectured about what they're doing. It's no different to a bartender. Oh, are you sure you really want to have that beer? If a bartender said that to me, well, actually, you're right. I don't. I'm going to go next door and have a beer there because I don't really feel like being judged for my decisions. So that's the other side of it. We have to remain agnostic to reach our audience. If we want to reach people earlier, we want to help support people before they reach crisis point, we need to be seen as non-judgmental.
Mm.
And that means accepting their decisions and offering the support that they're happy to engage with.
Okay. What about the black market?
Right. Well, I mean, the black market is huge, and it's been that way for a long time. It's been far bigger and far more significant than many stakeholders have really been willing to admit. It is also fundamentally undermining um, the responsible gambling, the safer gambling efforts of effectively every regulated jurisdiction. The reality is that harm minimization is generally done by introducing friction between the person experiencing harm and the activity that is causing the harm. And with physical commodities, you can introduce border controls, you can introduce taxes, you can license who's allowed to distribute those products or manufacture those products within your country. All of these allow you to introduce friction into the system. With a digital service like online gambling, you actually cannot introduce friction in the same way. You cannot stop a company in another country distributing their product to your population. And this means that when the licensed operators introduce friction, but that friction isn't present in the black market, users will quickly just switch to the friction-free product.
So it's like friction is soiling the black market at some
And
level.
that's exactly it. When you look at, for instance, self exclusions are a great idea. They're a great concept, but they are being fundamentally undermined when people can quickly and easily access a site where they're not excluded.
You
And,
mean like
and
national self exclusions or something like that?
yeah, national self-exclusion schemes are a fantastic tool. They offer protection to large numbers of consumers who feel they need support, which is fantastic to see. If you look at the statistics around the world, you see high levels of engagement. I mean, off the top of my head, I believe GameStop in the UK has passed 600,000 registrations, which is fantastic. But like any tool, and just like blocking software, they have limitations in their scope. National self-exclusion schemes only protect the consumer from licensed operators. And given the ease with which the black market can be accessed, that means that anyone who is skewing towards the harsher end of the harm scale and is more motivated to re-access gambling is going to find ways round. The black market is offering them ways round the national self-exclusion schemes. In fact, there are huge marketing efforts going on in the black market right now to facilitate users migrating from an excluded status in the national self-exclusion scheme to a player status with the black market. And that's a huge problem. That is a huge problem. We need that means that the most vulnerable players are exiting the licensed market and just going on to escalate their harm in the black market. And if what we really care about as a system is reducing harm, rather than just signposting that we're keeping things legal, then we need to tackle the black market directly. And that means big investment in whatever strategies we can come up with, because we haven't found an effective one yet, to shut down the ways that the black market is accessing regulated populations. I mean,
Okay.
in the first instance, we've and I was one of the primary proponents of this very early on, 10, 15 years ago, of not talking about the illegal sites because you didn't want to draw attention to them. But the truth of the matter is that strategy has not worked. The black market has grown very, very quickly. So if not talking about them hasn't worked, we need to start talking about them. And I would also say that up till now, I have only really seen countries trying to address the black market within themselves. So every country is an island that is trying to fight this
Mm.
problem by itself, and the effectiveness of their efforts have been limited. They've been limited. These organizations are sitting outside of their legal reach and doing so intentionally. The again referencing the KSA, the chief of the KSA recently proposed at a conference in Toronto, um, the formation of a global gambling Interpol.
Mm.
And I think that is a fantastic idea. Cooperative efforts between countries to try and close down the black market has to be the next step forward.
Okay, we need to wrap up for this safer gambling week for this year. But quickly, I would like to ask you for three predictions for safer gambling in. Sorry, I know that this is an ambush question for until the next safer gambling week.
Well, I think we are unlikely to see that global gambling Interpol form this year, but I think you will see more people starting to speak about this idea. I think it will start to gain more momentum. Um, I'm going to step away from predictions in the wider market and focus on what I know.
Okay.
I think you are going to see BetBlocker rolled out um, in partnership with several regulatory authorities over the next year. And I hope I can add to that list. I can say with certainty there will be a few, but I hope I can add to that list before we have Safer Gambling Week again. And I think that we will see BetBlocker make big efforts specifically to reach Middle Eastern and Southeast Asian markets by more translation to support these communities, because to date, I mean, we've done amazingly. We've got 24 languages live just now, but I cannot deny that that is heavily focused on the European markets. We need to expand our coverage the for other continents effectively, because there's so many people we're not reaching right now.
Wonderful. So, thank you very much, Duncan, and thank you to all our wonderful supporters worldwide.